Hey everyone, welcome back to True Kindness Tales. Before we begin today's incredible story, I want you to do something for me. Look at the screen right now. I need you to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Why? Because what you're about to see is a lesson in humility that changed a billion-dollar company forever, and I promise, by the end, you'll be glad you stuck around. Stories like this are why we built this channel. Now, let's meet our single dad. The polished concrete floors of Synergon Tower's executive garage gleamed under sterile LED lights, reflecting a kingdom of silent, shimmering wealth, a slate gray Aston Martin, a blood-red Ferrari, a pair of imposing blacked-out Range Rovers. And then, there was Leo's Mustang. It was a 1969 Ford Mustang Mach 1, but to anyone who didn't know, which was everyone in the building, it was a rusty, primer gray eyesore. The front fender was a different color, the vinyl roof was cracked, and a faint scent of old gasoline followed it like a ghost. Every night at 10 p.m., like clockwork, Leo Martinez would push his mop bucket into the corner, change out of his custodial uniform, and walk to his car, the squeak of his worn sneakers the only sound. Leo was a fortress of quiet dignity, a man whose eyes held the weary warmth of someone who read 5 bedtime stories after an 8-hour shift. His world was his 7-year-old daughter, Ella, and the intricate, secret universe he was rebuilding for her inside that Mustang's scarred metal skin. The car was his father's, a project they'd never finished. Now, it was Leo's temple, his promise, his escape. He worked the night shift so his days were free for school runs, homework, and the sacred hours he spent in their tiny garage, the radio humming old rock songs as he meticulously worked. The trouble was the timing. Synergon's brutalist CEO, Alistair Kane, was a man who believed late nights were a direct measure of worth. He often left around 10:15 p.m. On this fatish night, Kane, flanked by 2 young, sleek vice presidents eager for approval, reached his pearl-white Bentley just as Leo was carefully loading a cardboard box of used textbooks into the Mustang's backseat. Kane stopped, his sharp eyes slicing from Leo's kind, tired face to the car. A slow, contemptuous smile spread. "Evening, Leo," Kane said, his voice dripping with a faux camaraderie that made the VP smirk. "I have to ask, is this a vintage statement, or is the recycling bin on the fritz?" One VP chuckled. "Looks like it's held together by hope and rust, sir." Leo's grip tightened on the box, his knuckles white. He met Kane's gaze, not with anger, but with a profound, unshakable calm. "It runs just fine, Mr. Kane. It's a work in progress." "Progress," Kane mused, circling the car like a shark. He tapped the faded hood with his Mont Blanc pen. "You know, Leo, we have an automotive division that makes machines of actual value. Perhaps you should let them take this project off your hands. For scrap, it's an embarrassment to the parking lot." The final blow was casual, delivered with the ease of someone swatting a fly. "Some junk just isn't worth saving." The words hung in the artificially cooled air, cruel and absolute. Leo felt them seep into the old wounds of his heart, the loss of his wife, the constant financial tightrope, the judgment he endured daily. He simply gave a small, stiff nod, got into the Mustang, and listened to the old engine turn over with a throaty, grumbling cough that made the executives shake their heads with pitying laughter as he drove away, the sound echoing off the walls, chasing him into the night. A week later, a historic storm system settled over the city. It was the kind of deluge that cripples infrastructure. Roads became rivers, the power grid faltered, and downtown, including the glittering Synergon Tower, was plunged into a chaotic, flooded darkness. An emergency board meeting, called to address a catastrophic server failure threatening billions in data, was stranded on the 42nd floor. No generators powerful enough to reboot the server farm were operational downtown. Kane, pacing like a caged tiger, watched from the panoramic windows as emergency lights on the streets below blinked and died. Their flagship product launch, set for the morning, was dissolving in the black water rising in the streets. Down in the flooded basement garage, water was lapping at bumper level. Leo, who had stayed late to secure the building, was wading towards his Mustang, his daughter safe with a neighbor. He heard the frantic commotion from the executive elevator bank. "We need a mobile power source, now." Kane was barking into a dead satellite phone. Something with enough juice to jump-start a data center. One of the engineers, desperate, gestured outside. Nothing down there but submerged electric cars and Leo's old gas guzzler. A scornful laugh burst from Kane. "That piece of junk, it probably hasn't produced a full volt in its life." But Leo had stopped waiting. He turned, water swirling around his waist. The words, "Junk just isn't worth saving," flashed in his mind, followed by a crystal-clear image of Ella's trusting face. He walked not toward the exit, but toward the huddle of desperate executives. "It might," Leo said, his voice cutting through the panic. "Kane World, this is not the time for your automotive delusions, Leo." Leo ignored him, speaking directly to the head engineer. "You need high amperage, sustained power output. For about 20 minutes, to spin the servers back up." The engineer, stunned, nodded. "I can give you that," Leo said. He turned and sloshed back to the Mustang. With a reverence that seemed absurd in the circumstance, he unlocked the driver's side, reached in, and pressed a hidden switch under the dash. There was a heavy clunk. Then he walked to the back of the car, where the old, faded license plate frame read, "She's my girl." He pressed its corners in a specific sequence. With a silent hydraulic whir, the entire rear end of the Mustang, trunk, bumper, and quarter panels, began to rise upward and forward, like the canopy of a fighter jet. Beneath wasn't a rusty trunk. It was a cavity of aerospace-grade aluminum, housing a monstrous, polished mechanical heart. It wasn't a classic V8. It was a custom-built, twin-turbocharged, hybrid electric powertrain, its turbine-smooth components and woven carbon fiber pipes gleaming under Leo's flashlight. A digital touchscreen lit up on the assembly. This was no mere engine, it was a power plant prototype Leo's father, a disgraced but visionary engineer, had invented, and Leo had spent a decade perfecting in secret. It was whisper quiet, impossibly efficient, and could generate enough electricity to power a small neighborhood. "Hook your main leads to these terminals," Leo said, his voice calm as he pointed to two heavy-duty posts. The garage fell utterly silent, save for the drumming rain. Kane's face was a mask of utter, incomprehensible shock. The engineers scrambled, cables snaking through the dark water. Leo pressed a sequence on the touchscreen. The machine awoke with a sound that was not a roar, but a deep, resonant hum, a sound of immense, contained power. It was the sound of a symphony playing in a library. Lights on the server room panels, visible through the emergency stairwell, began to flicker, then glow steadily. One by one, monitors winked back to life across the 42nd floor. The system rebooted. Billions of dollars of data, the company's future, were saved by the very junk its CEO had mocked. In the eerie, generator-lit garage, Alistair Kane stood paralyzed, the water soaking his $5,000 suit irrelevant. He was staring at the mechanical masterpiece before him, then at the quiet janitor who had built it in a home garage after putting his daughter to bed. The arrogance that had been his armor cracked and fell away, revealing raw, staggering awe. "What is this?" he finally whispered. "The KX-11 Feet Tempest, hybrid power unit," Leo said softly, wiping a smudge of grease from its housing with a tenderness one would use on a child's cheek. "My father's design. He was laughed out of the industry for it. Said it was too efficient, would disrupt the oil and auto giants. I promised him I'd finish it." Kane, a man who built his empire on spotting disruptive value, now saw it in its purest form, not in a boardroom pitch, but in a flooded basement, born from perseverance and love. This could revolutionize everything. Electric grids, transportation, everything. Why are you here? Mopping floors. Leo looked at him, no triumph in his eyes, only a lifetime of quiet strength. Healthcare for Ella. The janitorial job had the best plan. And the nights let me work on her inheritance.